The valley of KwaZulu had always been a place of abundance. Rolling green hills stretched endlessly, their slopes dotted with grazing cattle, and the deep forests surrounding the land were home to birds whose songs could brighten the darkest morning. At the heart of this beauty sat the village of Ndlovukazi, a place known for its skilled weavers, its vibrant market days, and the warmth of its fires during long winter nights. The people lived in tightly woven harmony. The hunters brought meat from the forest, the farmers harvested maize from the fields, the women crafted intricate beadwork whose colors told stories older than memory. And always, in the evenings, the beat of the drums would rise from the village square, a heartbeat that seemed to connect them not only to each other but to the ancestors who had walked the land before them. But one evening, that heartbeat faltered. The first warning. It began when Ma Nondi, the village's oldest woman, emerged from her hut. Her body was bent with age, her skin a map of deep lines carved by time, and yet her eyes held the sharpness of a hawk's. She had lived through 6 chiefs, 3 great famines, and more than a century of seasons, and the people respected her as a keeper of the ancestors' word. That day, she carried the carved gourd from which she alone drank, a vessel said to hold water from the sacred river beyond the forest, water drawn generations ago and never allowed to run dry. She moved slowly to the center of the village, and the people gathered, sensing the weight of her message. Her voice was soft but unshakable as she spoke. Last night, I dreamed. The moon was swallowed by a white mist, and in that mist, I heard our ancestors crying. They told me the balance has been broken. We have taken from the land without giving back, cut the trees where the spirits dwell, hunted without the prayers that open the path between this world and theirs. They warn us, if we do not make peace, the village will vanish before the moon is full. A heavy silence followed. The villagers shifted uneasily. Some crossed themselves, others murmured prayers under their breath. The young laughed nervously, whispering that old people dream strange dreams. But a few, the elders, looked to the horizon as though expecting to see the mist already rolling toward them. A chief's pride, the chief, Thuloni, stepped forward, tall, broad-shouldered, and dressed in leopard skin and beads of bright red and black. He carried himself like a man who believed no spirit could bend him. Ma Nondi, he said, his voice deep and steady, the people of Ndlovukazi are strong. The land is ours by right. No mist can take it from us. Some cheered at his words. Others kept their eyes low, uncertain. That night, the drums played as always, but the music carried a strange edge. The rhythm faltered now and then, as though the drummers themselves could not shake the feeling that something unseen was listening. The second night, 2 nights later, the first sign came. A white mist crept down from the hills, moving slowly at first, then rolling fast as though driven by unseen hands. It wound between the huts, swirling around sleeping mats, chilling the air. A little boy named Lathu awoke to the sound of whispering. At first, he thought it was his parents talking softly, but when he opened his eyes, he saw only the mist curling around him like a living thing. The whispers seemed to come from all directions, yet nowhere at once. "Mama," he called. No answer, only the faint sound of drums, but not the ones from the village square. These were softer, distant, as though played from another world. When the sun rose, the mist was gone, but so was the river. The wide, singing waters that had always run alongside the village were nothing but a dry gully. Trees at the forest's edge stood blackened, their leaves withered as if a fire had touched them, though no one had seen any flames. Ma Nondi called the people together. "This is the ancestors' warning," she said. "We must make an offering. We must give back what we have taken." But Thulani's pride was like a stone wall. "We will not bow to shadows. The land is ours. If they want it, they will have to take it from our hands." The people murmured, but they followed their chief's lead. On the third night, the mist returned, thicker, heavier, swallowing even the brightest torchlight. It clung to the skin, damp and cold, making it hard to breathe. Lathu clutched his mother's skirt as the whispers grew louder. Faces seemed to form in the mist, not living faces, but pale and hollow-eyed, drifting closer. One by one, the huts faded, their outlines dissolving into nothing. Lathu's father reached for him, but his hand passed through the boy's shoulder like smoke. The man's eyes widened in horror before he too faded into the white. "Mama!" Lathu screamed as his mother's face blurred, her body turning to shadow until she was gone. Only Manondi remained, her figure sharp against the swirling fog. She held the sacred gourd high and spoke in the ancient language of the ancestors. The mist seemed to pause, as if listening. But then, with a sound like a sigh, it swallowed her too. The next morning, travelers passing through the valley found only a bare circle of earth where the village had stood. No huts, no fires, no footprints, nothing but silence. The last survivor, Lathu, was discovered 3 days later in the forest, dazed and alone, clutching a small beaded bracelet. He told the travelers what he had seen, but they shook their heads. It was impossible. Villages did not vanish into mist. And yet, in the seasons that followed, herders swore they heard faint drumbeats on moonless nights when the mist crept down from the hills. Hunters told of flickering lights in the fog, shapes dancing in circles, laughter carried by the wind. The people of KwaZulu learned to keep away from that circle of bare earth. They told their children the warning: do not take from the land without giving back. Honor the ancestors, for they walk with us always. And when the mist comes, listen well, for it carries the voices of those who were taken. And so, the village of Ndlovukazi passed into legend. Some say it still exists, hidden in the veil between worlds, waiting for the day the people remember the old ways and ask for forgiveness. Until then, it dances in the mist, unseen, but never gone.